Welcome back. It has been a whirlwind couple weeks here, but I'm really glad to announce, if you don't follow me on Twitter, haven't seen that that the twins Leo and Sophia are home. They're healthy, they're happy, they're doing great, and so is the rest of the family. So we're really excited about that, and I'm really enjoying our new additions. I've got a special video for you today. It's a cube review by Chris Wolf. You might recognize the name. He's been the architect of the Magic Online Vintage Cube for like the last year, maybe 2 years, 2 year and a half, whatever it is. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. And Chris very generously did a review of the PowerMAX Cube that is going online tomorrow as of the posting of this video. It's a vintage cube with Time Vault and Splinter Twin combo and Demonic Consultation Oracle and all the just really busted stuff. There's no power level reasons to cut anything. So it's a really cool cube. I'm going to definitely do some videos. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm going to, let you guys take a look at his review as the designer of the cube, the architect. He's going to get to walk you through kind of the interesting parts of the cube and why he included them. As for myself, I am going to be recording videos again. It won't be once a day, not quite yet. I got to work our way back up to it, but you'll see some videos from me since obviously the twins are keeping me busy, as are my other kids. But you know what? I've been able to steal away to do some videos. So I just want to thank everyone for being so welcoming, and I know a lot of folks were wondering what was going on, but like I said, the twins are home. We're doing great, and you could expect to see some video production ramp up once again, which I know isn't even everyone's first concern, but I appreciate you regardless. So Julie's there being bad as usual. So enjoy this video by Chris Wolf. It's his first stab at content creation. So, keep in mind that he's new to that, just like everyone. When you first start something, he did a great job. I watched the video, of course, before putting it up, and I think it'll be a good insight into the cube process. As for gameplay, come back tomorrow. I got a gameplay video going up, and I'm excited to have you see it. So that'll do it from me, but I'm going to hand the stage here to Chris Wolf, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Thanks, everyone.
Hi everyone, this is Chris Wolf. I've been consulting with Chief Creative Director Ryan Spain and Daybreak Games for a little over a year now to curate your Magic Online Vintage Cube experience. So you might have read my name in one of the MTGO Vintage Cube articles already, but just to introduce myself a little here, I am 33 years old. I live in Vienna, Austria. I am currently training to become a kindergarten teacher, and my previous Magic accomplishments include runner-up at Nationals in 2008, a World's Top 8 in 2011 in Chiba, Japan, and most importantly, winning back-to-back trophy races of the Magic Online Vintage Cube. And my host, LSV, Luis himself, has been a huge help in the effort of creating the Magic Online Vintage Cube, as he frequently drafts his own cube, and we discuss and tries a lot of new cards. So we discuss card evaluations, archetype viability, and all that. So I figured I'd help him out for a change in light of the birth of his twins, and make an sort of exclusive video for the channel, if you will. What we're going to discuss today, or what we're going to be talking about today, is what is next in the world of Magic Online Vintage Cubing, and sort of the design philosophy behind it, as well as outlining a couple of individual card choices, why they were made, how they fit into this specific environment, and how you can sort of, so you get a rough idea how to navigate this specific cube. And I also want to say I'm not that much of a content creator at all, so it's kind of a first for me, and I'm also feeling a bit under the weather. So I hope Luis's editor can make a good job of me struggling to talk and breathe at the same time, because my nose is kind of clogged up. So yeah, please bear with me. And with all that said, let's dive right in. I have prepared a little thingy here on Magic Online to sort of have some visual representation of what I want to go through. And The first thing here, I mean, you can see already up here, we have a cube, we have a lotus, so we're obviously talking about vintage cube. And in between that, it says PowerMAX vintage cube. So what I want to go through with you today, what is a PowerMAX vintage cube? What does that even mean? And maybe more specifically, what does it mean to me as a curator? Because, you know, different when it comes to cube, people have vastly different opinions, which is also what makes it so great. I mean, even like Luis and I disagree frequently, even among the better players, disagreements can happen, and it's still always a great thing. So that's the awesome thing about Vintage Cube for me personally. We're not going to go through the entire cube list because that would take way too long to discuss it card by card. What I want to do instead is first, I want to show you sort of what combos are available in the cube, because that's always important information when you go into a cube, because the creature decks sort of, you know, they're more straightforward and easier to draft because they have so much redundancy. For the combo decks, it gets a little more convoluted. Right, so first up, we start with the twin combo. Everyone should be familiar with this. It's been a long time staple of the Vintage Cube, maybe even since its inception, possibly, and has only fallen out of favor recently. And the basic gist is you combine one of these three with one of these two, and you get infinite copies of said creature, and therefore deal an infinite amount of damage. Additionally, Restoration Angel works with Kiki Chiki only, not with Twin, but I think everyone should be aware. Why I'm mentioning this is there is a new edition from Duskmourn, which is Fear of Missing Out. Great cube card. It's a 2-mana, 2/3 enchantment creature, and when it enters, you discard a card and then draw a card. So right off the bat, it's easy to see how this is a good Vintage Cube card. Reanimator has been moving more and more away from blue-black into black-red, so Rakdos colors. So discard outlets are always sort of at a premium, especially if they come attached to a reasonable body. The cool thing about this is also that if you play this empty-handed, you don't have to discard a card to draw a card, but you get to draw the card anyway, even if you can't discard a card. So if you empty out your hand pretty quickly, you just get to draw a card. But the important part here, for the twin combo specifically, is the rest of the text, which says Delirium. Whenever Fear of Missing Out attacks for the first time each turn, if there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard, untap target creature. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So if you strap a Splinter Twin onto this, or have a Kiki Chiki Mirrorburger in play, you get to make a copy and attack with a copy. And since the copy is always a unique thing and attacks the first time, you get the trigger of the ability. You get to untap either your enchanted Fear of Missing Out or your Kiki Chiki, and you rinse and repeat. And the only way to get around this from your opponent, barring they don't interrupt the combo straight up, is if they have a first striker or indestructible creature, then they get to block, or big enough first striker that is, because then they get to block permanently. But if they don't have that and they just have a bigger creature, even an Atraxa, like a lifelink one that will gain them a lot of life, you will eventually work your way through that Atraxa because the damage on the creature will keep on piling up, and then you get to kill your opponent. So that's pretty neat. I need to catch my breath in between here. Sorry for that. Next up is the Breach Brain Freeze combo, which especially here on this channel people should be very familiar with because Luis you at least used to like to draft this a lot. Basically, you mill yourself with you cast the Underworld Breach, you mill yourself with the Brain Freeze, try to find one of these 3, and then you get to use the escape and with the milled cards to recast your spells and eventually mill out your opponent. Pretty straightforward, and been around for quite a while now. Next up, we have the Gadgeteer Zerda Monolith combos. Forensic Gadgeteer combines with Basalt Monolith for infinite mana. Zerda works with both, so that's kind of nice. Then you have a standard draw 7 combos, where you have Hull Breacher, Narset, Bowmasters, Shieldred, and you combine those with your draw 7s, wheels, whatever you might call them. And yeah, either you basically most of these are pretty winning plays. Next up is the various lands combos, where you get to combine Fast Bond with a Crucible effect. Funnily enough, the namesake Crucible of Worlds is not in the cube anymore, because Walking Closet got printed in Duskmorn, which is basically Crucible, but with an extra bonus in the Forgotten Cellar half of it. And what you do here, obviously, you combine these with Strip Mine to either kill all of your opponent's lands, or you throw a Zuran Orb in the mix, and you get to make infinite life in the process and infinite mana as well. You can also use Zuran Orb in conjunction with Titania, sacrifice all your lands, and convert them into 5/3 elementals, which is usually also enough to kill your opponent. Sylvan Safekeeper also does that, which then in turn can combo with Nadu, which is a bit more new of a combo, like a newer combo, but it's so it has gotten so infamous so quickly that I imagine everyone's aware of it now. And the best way to combo with it in cube is obviously Lightning Greaves, because Shuko is it's not a real card in cube, other than exactly with Nadu. The Dark Depths package obviously also belongs in the sort of lands combo pile, if you will. Mainly Dark Depths, sometimes Hex Mage with Thespian, Dark Depths with Thespian Stage, sometimes Dark Depths with Hex Mage. You obviously still have like your Channel Emrakul's. There's Thopter Sword, which you can combine with Urza, Lord Artificer, to make infinite. That's you infinite tokens, infinite life, infinite mana, and you can even go through your entire library as well. So that's pretty big game if you can get there. And then last but not least, there's various Displacer Kitten combos. You can combine this with Coveted Jewel straight up, which is pretty easy to execute, because every time you blink the jewel, you draw 3 and you have 3 fresh mana to spend to recast spells, to retrigger Kitten and blink the jewel, so on and so forth. Also works with Tameo, Collector of Tales, and if you throw in one of these 3, basically get to make infinite mana and then use that infinite mana to cast infinite spells, because you get to blink the Tameo every time and return the spell again. And then there's also Teferi, which works in a sort of similar fashion, where you get to, if you have any 0 mana artifact, you get to cast a 0 mana artifact to blink the Teferi to bounce the 0 mana artifact and repeat, draw your entire deck. And if you have something like that nets you mana, like a Mox or a Soul Ring or a Grim Monolith, you also get 1 mana every cycle. Right. So that's just the basic, already known combos you should be aware of, because some of these are not always in the cube. So these are, I feel like these are important to get out of the way first. Obviously, you still have your sneak attack, you still have your reanimation, you have your broadside bombardiers, your Ocelot Prides, your Ajani, Minsk and Boo, all those powerful cards, right? So Vintage Cube, always powerful, but this is still nothing new under the sun here. So you might still be asking yourself, so what actually is this PowerMAX thing? And that's what we're gonna get into next. All right, back from the pause. I have something new prepared here. Now we're getting into the meat of things when it comes to PowerMAX. I would say this is probably the most defining feature of a PowerMAX cube. And if you're unaware of what it is, we're talking about the initiative. I suspect most of you will be familiar with this, most of the frequent watchers, because it actually has been in LSV's very own vintage cube for quite a while and not too long ago. But for those still unfamiliar with what the initiative is, I'm gonna give you a short explanation, short rundown. So basically all these cards say you take the initiative, there's 6 creatures and 1 spell. 6 creatures obviously upon make it so you enter the initiative upon, or you gain the initiative upon them entering, and the spell once it resolves, right? So what is the initiative? The initiative says whenever one or more creatures a player controls deals combat damage to you, that player takes the initiative. So in that regard, it's exactly the same as the Monarch, right? And whenever you take the initiative, and at the beginning of your upkeep, unless like different here from the Monarch, Monarch triggers at end step, initiative triggers on upkeep. So you have to keep it. Yeah, you don't have to keep it for a turn cycle because you get to move along when you gain it, but it's more effective when you keep it. We'll get into that more as we proceed. So you venture into the Undercity, and this is the dungeon, the Undercity. The entrance, you get to search for a basic land, and you get to sort of choose one of 2 routes. First one, put 2 1/1 counters on target creature. Next up is target player loses 5 life, and then draw a card, and then the last ability is a sort of win the game gimmicky style effect. I imagine you've all seen it. It's incredibly strong. The left-hand side ends the game very quickly. Right-hand side gives you some consistency. And yeah, if you get to Throne of the Dead 3, reveal the top 10 cards, put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield with 3+1/+1 counters on it, and it gets hexproof until your next turn, then shuffle. So pretty insane. As you know, as most of you know, this has been designed for a 4-player game, so basically Commander, which makes it absolutely broken in a 1v1 setting. As most of you also know, there's White Bloom Adventurer has been banned in Legacy. It still sees play in Vintage, obviously, because it's an incredibly strong card. But yeah, cards busted, absolutely insane. We know the dynamics of the initiative based on the monarchy, but people that haven't played with the initiative don't know how domineering it is in a game. It's just brutal. Even if you make it, even if it's not a blowout, and you make it a bit of a back and forth where people switch, like take turns taking the initiative, the game very quickly is basically just about this one mechanic. Because if you don't take it back, you basically lose. Right. So not only that, we also want to make this, it's already very brutal, but this is PowerMAX, so we want to make it even more brutal. So aside from your standard fast mana, like the Soaring, Lotus Mana Crypt, and assortment, Lotus Mana Crypt, an assortment of Moxen, Soaring, we also have additional fast mana here in the form of the 2 Spirit Guides, Simeon and Elvish Spirit Guide. There's also Crystal Vein, which is basically just a colorless land, but you can sacrifice it to add 2, so you get a bit of a boost of mana. And Gemstone Caverns, which doesn't make, because in fast environments like these, being on the draw really matter, like whether you are on the play or on the draw really matters. And Gemstone Caverns is here to mitigate some of that snowball potential. But not only that, we also have an extra Mox. And you won't believe this, but there's another Mox in the client. It's Glee Mox. I don't know exactly where this comes from. I just know it was part of some promotional thing Magic Online did whenever in the past. But it's in the client. We are playing with the most powerful cards. A lot of people in their paper vintage cubes use things like Jack in the Mox. Now there's the new playtest card, Mox Poison, which is basically a worse version of Glee Mox. But we have access to this, so we're gonna use it. I know it says this card is banned on the card, but here it isn't. Trust me. pick it highly, and don't miss it in the packs, because that's probably what's gonna happen for the first couple of days when people are just confused by whatever this is, and or maybe not even notice it and confuse it with like a PowerMAX or something, because they do look kind of similar on first sight. So yeah, with Gleemox, we have now entered the sort of silly cards territory. We are going to include Namesticker Goblin again, which was obviously cut from the Vintage Cube, with the banning of these cards in Legacy, which is the only reason why they were created on Magic Online in the first place. So you could have format parity between Magic Online and Legacy, and now that it's banned and it's basically not a real Magic card anymore. It is, after all, from an unset, which used to be non-constructed legal, but yeah, you know the whole deal. So that's back. We also have invert polarity, which pretty frequently says flip a coin to either get a, I would say, very overcosted effect or win the game. So yeah, this is definitely silly territory, as is Comet, which I don't know if you people have seen this card a lot or played with it a lot, but what it does is basically it can win the game in a single turn, ranging from that to doing almost to basically nothing at times. So once again, coin flip card. Then finally, to round out the big initiative sort of shenanigans going on, we've also added some extra monarchy cards, at least 2 of which I believe you've seen in LSV's cube. There's Fall from Favor, which taps down a creature your opponent controls, and then you become the monarch. There's Emberwhite Captain, which basically only gives you the monarch and punishes your opponent for attacking you if you have the monarch, and Aragorn, which is very good at sort of defending and getting back the monarchy, and obviously the initiative as well, if it comes to that. Right. So that covers the whole initiative part of the PowerMAX cube. But as I've already mentioned, I personally believe this mechanic is pretty stupid, to be honest. Like, kind of silly. Stupid is maybe a strong word, but it's pretty silly. That's why we also have these silly cards, because the game just devolves into an initiative battle basically every time the initiative is present. So we have to do something about that, right? And how I sort of solved that, or tried to go about solving this problem, will be our next section, which I'll be back for after I've prepared the next slide, so to speak, the next Magic Online deck builder slide. Right. Okay. Initiative broken. Got it. What now? So you want some ways around the initiative, so not everyone is pigeonholed into engaging in creature combat, because it can also be very restraining during the draft, because if you know up ahead you have to battle the initiative, you need to draft accordingly. So it's I believe it's vital that you support combo decks that are structured in such a way and powerful enough that they can get around the initiative completely. So you get to ignore the initiative, you will die quickly still, but your combo should be powerful and fast enough to end the game despite losing the initiative battle, basically. And first up is a card that a lot of you should be familiar with as well, which is Demonic Consultation, which combos with either a Thassa's Oracle trigger on the stack or a Jace Wield of Mysteries in play. And what you do there is you just name a card which doesn't exist in your deck, which you don't have in your deck, so you basically mill yourself out, which will gain you the win by the Thassa's Oracle trigger, or you activate your Jace afterwards, or you respond to the ability on the stack with the Demonic Consultation because it's an instant, and that will win you the game. I personally recommend naming you are already dead, abandon hope, play of the game, or the end. Yes, these are all magic card names. And this sort of ties into the Doomsday package that has been around the Vintage Cube for a good while now. And yeah, why Demonic Consultation has been excluded or wasn't considered yet is because, as most of you have seen that are frequent watchers of the channel, it is also pretty silly. So even if you power out your initiative creature on turn 2, you can still expect sometimes to lose to one of these combos, and specifically Demonic Consultation is very, very busted. And next up on the list is the famous or infamous, depending on which side you land. Are you the type of person that wants the most broken things at all times in the Vintage Cube? Then it's probably famous. Otherwise, it's infamous because it also is quite silly. So Time Vault basically combines with Tezzeret, the Seeker, one of the two keys, or Mirage Mirror for infinite turns. Notably, Mirage Mirror also combos with Dark Depths. These make infinite turns. And then you have Kiora Behemoth Beckoner, which can net you up to 7 extra turns, which will most likely win you the game for anyone that has cast Time Walk a couple of times. You know how powerful that can be, and it's also something LSV very much enjoys. Then you also have Saheeli, which also works, and notably this doesn't say untap target permanent or even artifact on it. But how this works is basically you just have the Time Vault in play, you have the Saheeli in play, you use her -2 to make any untapped artifact you control into a Time Vault. That, since that artifact is already in play and won't enter tapped, you will be able to use it. So this can net you 2 extra turns as well, which can be pretty powerful. And there's one final kind of gimmicky way to combo with it, but if you get there, because it's from the graveyard, if you get there, it also yields infinite turns, because Shifting Woodlands Delirium ability allows it to become a copy of target permanent card in your graveyard. And you obviously can activate this only if there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard. But if you have Time Vault and at least 3 other card types in your graveyard, and you have a Shifting Woodland in play, plus enough mana to activate it and have it be untapped, then you can also make infinite extra turns. Right. So these are the most powerful combos available for a PowerMAX Vintage Cube in Magic the Gathering, at least online. I know there's some weird cards like Contract from Below, which are not in the client. But yeah, so these are very good. I think vital to the health of the format when you introduce something as powerful as the initiative. But I still think it's not enough. So we also added Oriok Salvagers, which combos with Black Lotus and LED for infinite mana. And some of you have maybe gotten to play with this in the recent Retro Cube. I wanted to throw it in there and try it, just to have more things to do with LED, basically, and to see how it lands on Magic Online. I think it was fine. And then there's Chain of Smog, which combos with Sedgemoor Witch for infinite pests, and at the end of however many pests you wanted to make, you can also let your opponent discard 2. The way this works is target player discards 2 cards, that player may copy the spell and may choose a new target for that copy. So you repeatedly target yourself, copying the Chain of Smog and triggering Metalcraft of Sedgemoor Witch, or Witherbloom Apprentice, which results in a win outright, because every time you do it, it drains your opponent for 1 life. Right, so we discussed the standard combos in the first part, and these are the new combos. And some of these are also obviously very obnoxious and insanely powerful, so I want to go through how we gone about balancing this part of the equation. These 2 are fairly easily avoided by just some instant speed removal, so they don't require too much extra work while they're still powerful. they are easily disrupted as well. So first and foremost, the most difficult to disrupt is demonic consultation, because you can basically only interact with it on the stack. Otherwise, you're pretty doomed. There are a couple cards, but yeah, so it's pretty difficult for non-blue decks to get in on the action. The main and easiest thing is obviously counterspells. White gets Archon of Emeria, which is a known vintage staple that avoids the combo decks from sort of escalating too quickly, and also puts pressure on your opponent's life total. There is one card that has made it into this version of the cube, which would otherwise be way too narrow, and that's Mental Misstep. Specifically because it's a universal, meaning every deck has access to this card just by the virtue of Phyrexian mana to counter Demonic Consultation, and it also helps with countering keys. And there's still stuff like Ragavan and Ocelot Pride that are very much worth mental misstepping, but it's questionable how many decks you will be facing on average will have that density of one drop to make the card worth main decking. But at least it's a sideboard card, so these decks also have at least something to worry about. Dress Down is another way to cancel out at least the Thassa's Oracle side of the consultation combo, and it also shuts down the initiative, which is pretty nice. So basically you flash this in response to your opponent's initiative creature, and then they just don't take the initiative. Baleful Mastery is also known from past iterations that works against both Jace and Thassa's Oracle, because you either get to remove the Jace from the game, causing them to lose the game by drawing from an empty deck, or if you kill the Thassa's Oracle to make them draw a card when they're empty, when they're on an empty library with the trigger on the stack, they also lose the game. Or if they try to play around it, you can cast it for full and then kill the Thassa's Oracle, and then they don't win the game because they don't have enough devotion. Right. So black also gets a couple tools. There's Rings of Steel and Oil, which can hit Thassa's Oracle and Jace, and it also hits almost all of the Time Vault combo components quite handily. It also gets rid of initiative creatures, so there's a lot to like about this card in this cube, I think. Thoughtseize is obviously still the premium discard spell, but I just wanted to have more answers present for these incredibly powerful things. Similarly, Dread Fugue, I think this card goes up in value by a good bit. It's kind of a smaller Inquisition of Kozilek, but you can also cleave it. And in a format that is, as mentioned with Gemstone Caverns previously, in a format that's this fast, it's pretty valuable or vital to interact on the first couple of turns, and you can still use this late game for a slightly inflated cost with the cleave ability. And kind of similarly, you get Unmask, which obviously is not a grief because you cannot scam it, but if you are desperate, and you often will be desperate, I imagine, facing down these combos that can kill as early as turns 1 and 2, then a worse, quote-unquote, worse discard effect is better than no discard effect, and you can still cast this later on in the game. Right, so this is sort of like Black's way to interact with these two, but then we sort of move on to the more easily interactable combo in Time Vault. Thankfully, artifacts have gotten plenty of hate pieces over the years, and what you want here though is, because you don't want to sit there knowing your opponent has a Time Vault combo in the deck and have to keep up K command every turn, because then they're just going to run away with the game anyways. Then it's equivalent to them having cast multiple Time Walks if you sit there keeping up 3 mana and not progressing your own board state. So what you want is either free, so meaning Force of Vigor, free interaction, which you can cast without having to spend any mana, or the creatures that put pressure on your opponent's life total while also being able to disrupt the combo, and those are these 5. So usually we are all familiar with most of these. The newer ones are Goblin Crater Maker, which can destroy target colors non-land permanent, so it gets rid of the Time Vault. Notably, this can also get rid of Emrakul the Aeon's Thorn if your opponent somehow gets it into play. And Cankerbloom is another new one. It's a sort of just a different version of Outland Liberator, and we all know Pride Mage and Haywire Might already. And March of the Otherworldly Light can also accomplish a similar thing. If you have a white card to pitch, it also gets there by just keeping 1 mana up, and you're still able to progress your board state, put pressure on your opponent's life total, and basically be the one asking questions. So this concludes our little overview sneak peek into the PowerMAX Vintage Cube, and I hope I have left you with a reasonably good idea of how to navigate the environment. If you don't feel confident yet, you can of course check out the entire list on cubecobra.com/cube/PMAX, all caps, the last part, as you can see in the bottom of the screen here. And also Ryan and I will be going into the topic a bit in the official article that will be, since I don't know when this video is going to get uploaded, I've also put it up there, whatever, there, now I get it, which will be live on November 23rd on mtgo.com, front page. You won't be able to miss it. And maybe I can get LSV to put links in the description, but I don't know yet if that's gonna happen. Of course, he's very busy, and yeah. And I want to just leave you with some final thoughts here. I really think it's very amazing how the Cube community and the general interest around Cube has grown over the past 2 years, and I'm very glad to get to be a part of it. I'm very passionate about Vintage Cube. I've been drafting it ever since its inception, its very inception in 2012, I believe, on Magic Online. And I also hope I can stick around for a while to come. I think it's really cool that LSV is making all these videos and they're getting so many views. You guys watching, of course. It's really cool to see, and I also love to engage with the community, so I try to be present everywhere. If you want to find me personally, talk to me directly, leave me some feedback, whatever, talk about Cube. I'm always up for it whenever I have the time. And you can find me obviously on the official Magic Online Discord in the Cube section. That's where I mainly have my eyes on, and of course in Luis's very own divination server. My handle on both is Chris_WULF 1991, and of course feel free to tag me there. If not, just ask around and you'll find someone to tag me, like Morty's dog Ben usually does a great job on the divination Discord, and you'll also find me on the Magic Online Discord again. And lastly, going into this year, in terms of Cube design, Ryan and I shared a common vision, which made this a very great experience. We wanted to try a lot of things, and so we did. Some successful trials, some maybe not so successful trials, which is fine because we always learn. And I've had sort of 2 very big things on my bucket list for this year, and that was I wanted to make a nostalgia-driven sort of retro cube, which you've gotten to see on this channel, drafted by Luis over the past couple of weeks, which I was very happy to see that he enjoyed, and of course I hope you all enjoyed that as well. And I also wanted to make this PowerMAX cube, so this is like the last check mark on my bucket list. I always wanted to make a cube that has these incredibly powerful cards in it as well, because I think it's great to play with them sometimes. I don't think it's a great experience for the entire year round. Some would disagree, of course, but yeah. And I feel like I've accomplished that, so I'm very happy with how this year went, and I hope you enjoyed yourselves playing a lot more Vintage Cube than we've ever gotten to play, and I hope you continue to enjoy our cubes that we make. And yeah, I'll see you in the queues. PowerMAX Vintage Cube live on Magic Online, November 27th. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps out the channel and you won't miss a single draft.